Good day, everyone. My name is Tinashe from the National Council of and for Persons with Disabilities. I would like to welcome you all to our very first episode of our podcast series, The Power of Communities. We are launching this episode as we celebrate the International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia, Interphobia and Transphobia. The Power of Communities is jointly brought to you by the NCPD, Capricorn Ignited, the Triangle Project, Sisonke National Sex Workers Movement, 1in9 Campaign, Eagle Wings, and the Mental Wellness Initiative. We are supported by Global Affairs Canada, Gender Links, under the renewed Women Voice and Leadership program. So in today's episode, we will explore what it means to live at the intersection of being LGBTQI, or maybe to put it in the most commonly known term, being gay or queer, and being disabled. Our special guest for today is Violin Pillay. Violin is a deaf gay man who lives in KZN. We also have Petri. Petri is an accredited South African simultaneous sign language interpreter. Petri will be interpreting for Violin. Violin, welcome to the Power of Communities.
Thank you very much.
If I may ask you briefly to introduce yourself. Who is Violin?
Okay. Hello everyone. My name is Violin Pillay. I'm 35 years old and I grew up profoundly deaf. I grew up in Durban as well.
Thank you, Violin. If we will dig right into it, exploring in terms of marginalization, what we call double marginalization. You are a deaf person and you are also a gay person. What has your experience been like living at the intersection of being gay and being deaf?
Okay. Well, firstly, within the deaf community, I have experienced homophobia. I've had lots of experiences being raped. And when I enter the hearing world, for example, I would go to a swimming club. That's also where I would experience discrimination based on my sexuality and because I'm deaf. So I find it that people find it very difficult at times to accept me for who I am.
So at times you feel like you don't belong either to the deaf community or to the disability community, and you also feel like you don't belong to the LGBTQI community. Is that a feeling that you come across most of the times?
Yes.
If you can recall maybe a moment where you felt invisible or misunderstood because of your overlapping identities. Maybe people just couldn't know how to approach you or to handle you or to speak to you because you are a deaf person and also because you are a gay person. If you can recall maybe a specific scenario in your life.
Yes. I went to the deaf community, and I'm part of the deaf community with whom I can identify. But my biggest challenge is when I disclose my sexuality to them, they would be very negative and say, don't be friends with Violin. It's a sin. It's very sinful. That's very difficult for me. So how do I go about finding my acceptance there? That's one of the major challenges. So my experience then is after a few years, they come to me and say, oh, we now can be friends with you because we've had the exposure from the outside world. the hearing community is similar in some way, but I still experience a few challenges there. As I build rapport with them and our continued commitment and involvement in the community with the hearing, I think become friends with them. And it also takes them a while to reach the acceptance levels.
It seems like it is a matter of them taking their time to get to know you as a person. So acceptance really does take time. Still on that space of maybe belonging and acceptance, were there times that maybe you felt the LGBTQI or the gay spaces were not accessible to you?
Yes. It can be very difficult because the accessibility through interpreting is a problem. If I go to an event or to an LGBTQI gathering, my phone is off and I can't communicate with anyone. I won't be able to WhatsApp and communicate in written form. Interpreters provide us with access, and if I don't have that, it means I can only communicate with the deaf community. And that's the biggest challenge.
So coming across strongly is the challenge of communication within the LGBTQ spaces. At some point, maybe within in your life, have you ever felt like the pressure to hide one part of your identity in order to be accepted in another space? Maybe, let's say, within deaf culture and the deaf community, hiding that you are a gay person so that maybe the deaf community could accept you.
Yes, that is very, very hurtful because I try to fit, but I cannot. And I can't disclose. It's very difficult because I know they will react negatively to me being gay. And that's how I stay in the closet. Only within the pride community, that's when I can really get out of the closet and disclose my sexuality without any negative repercussion.
And in this pride community, in these gay communities, when you disclose that you are deaf, what has been the reaction? Maybe do you have a specific reaction that you can recall, maybe in your own personal dating life in the LGBT community, that maybe a person approached you or you approached a person and you said, "Hi, I'm Violin and I'm deaf." A reaction either funny or sad, if you can maybe share.
Well, it's very sad for me because I tried to engage, right? And from the moment I say I'm deaf and gay, they're not sure how to react because the immediate thing they think of is difficulty in communication. That's the biggest issue. And that is my biggest challenge that I've experienced. I mean, I still want to be part of the hearing community.
Yeah, totally. Moving on to inclusive activism and representation, especially now in the rise of what is being called the anti-woke movement. There has been like a rise of movements or a strong advocacy to do away with the rise of the LGBTQI communities, minority groups, including even persons with disabilities. Globally, we've seen developments in the United States, in Europe, here in Africa, even in Uganda. How do you see the rise of these anti-woke or anti-rights movements affecting persons with disabilities here in Africa and even LGBTQI persons? Are you worried that this development might affect you negatively in one way or the other?
had to happen, and that's why we must continue to advocate. We cannot stop our efforts. It's our human right. It's our happiness. We have come to self-acceptance, and for that reason we have to advocate.
Well, that's a very good point that you're putting across, that persons with disabilities, LGBTQI people should really come together, especially now in the rise of these anti-woke movements. But speaking of such, would you say you have ever seen a moment where these two movements, and by two movements I'm referring to the LGBTQI plus movements and the disability movements, be they deaf, be they physically disabled, be they any other type of disability, come together jointly to advocate for themselves? Maybe you can just share even from a deaf perspective.
Not really, I haven't noticed that collaboration. If I want to be part of the hearing world, we have to mobilize ourselves and have a movement within that hearing community to come together as one voice. So collaboration needs us to come with one unified voice. That's our human right. We all have the same needs, so we just need to take our hands and unite.
Yeah, I think it's quite a very interesting observation that you're putting across there, that within the disability community, it seems as if queer disabled people haven't really had the strength or the unity or the power or the space to combine their voices together and start movements, advocacy movements within the disability sector. You find a situation where people, queer disabled people or deaf LGBTQI people, have to move over to the non-disabled sector so that their voices can be heard within those sectors. But even within these sectors, can you say maybe in scenarios where you have actively joined an LGBTQI advocacy space, as your voice as a deaf person coming across, being heard? We can even talk about maybe being included in the organizing of these LGBTQI movements within the hearing space. And there's people out there in these spaces.
It doesn't happen, unfortunately. Deaf people haven't come together, and that's why I need to go with my hearing counterparts who invite me there. But what about other deaf people? Mobilizing together as a deaf community with LGBTIQ issues would be very important. At the moment, I go, being invited, I go, and I lobby on my own.
Definitely. Maybe if you could speak directly to movement leaders, maybe within the deaf community, within the disability community, within the LGBTQI spaces, what would be your message or your ask to them?
I would ask them for unity, because we all have the same human right.
Well, united we stand, like they say, united we stand, divided we divided we fall.
Absolutely.
Moving on to maybe policy and access in general. What would you say are some of the real-world challenges that you have faced when accessing a service or support, be it in healthcare, education, or legal services? Challenges in which maybe you can say people really didn't get you as being both a deaf and a gay person, and didn't know how to help you, either maybe your experience or another person's experience that you would like to share?
I would like to tell you about an experience of my friend who had already explained to me what his experience was. I can't remember the exact year, but he went to a police station and to report a rape. Unfortunately, he was raped by another deaf person, and the police person then chased him away because he was deaf but he wanted to report the case for a second time. For a second time, he was chased away. A third time, the same happened, and he gave up. I asked him, why did you not disclose to your family? And he said he's too scared to say that to his family because the trauma that he still suffers with to this day. It seems like that traumatic event will be with him for his whole life.
I think that's very sad. You have here a person with a disability, a person who's deaf to be specific, probably still in the closet because he couldn't disclose his sexuality to his parents because of the many reasons that we know. Then you have the person experiencing gender-based violence or abuse, being sexually abused, being raped, like you specifically mentioned, goes to the police station to get help, and then simply from your account, the police officers there could not help him at all. Not only once, but for the second time he went back there, they couldn't help him. The third time he went back there, three times. So I think that is very sad and paints a very bleak picture.
And that's why till today he's still traumatized.
So which means he never really got to get the help that he needed, and he's sitting with a trauma. And still, unfortunately, it seems like no one couldn't help you. So I think it really speaks to the inaccessibility of health-related services, even within places where disabled persons themselves, queer persons themselves, are supposed to feel safe and protected. What would you say to persons in power or to persons in authority? I mean, given the story of your friend who is still sitting with trauma of being sexually abused years ago and still can't get access, what would be your message to persons in power and to persons in authority?
I inform those powers that they have to accept people for their diversity. And we deserve help. We are human too. Help people because we have capabilities. The police can help us to have a better life and not to be stuck with that trauma forever. That to me seems hardly fair.
Yeah, definitely. A message of change coming across strongly from you there, directly to the powers that be in these police stations and government. How to say we need to see more sensitization there, the powers that be accepting persons and accommodating them regardless of who they are. Yeah. I think we've been having a very sad and dark conversation since we started. If we move on maybe to try to search for some light and positivity, would you share a moment of joy or pride that came from being part of a community? Let's say, can you say you found belonging or a community? What are some of the simple joys that you can remember as being, being a gay person and being a deaf person?
my best friends, my circle of support,
Mm.
and also my mother and my sister. I know that they accept me for who I am unconditionally. They love me, and for that I really appreciate it. Also my friends who know that I'm gay, they're very supportive. So I'm really appreciative of them.
Well, that's some good news coming from you there, that your mother has supported you, your close friends know who the real Violin is, and they support you through and through. Maybe circling back to this big space with the deaf community and the LGBTQI communities, can you say you have found your people? If so, how have you found or helped create safe spaces for your people and others?
There are few deaf members in the community who sometimes invite me for events. That is a safe space for us within our own community. As being deaf and gay. And for that reason, I would call that my safe space.
And would you like these safe spaces or these your people spaces to grow and become bigger, get more people to realize that they can be free?
Yes, absolutely. I want people to come on board, to show that we can start together as one voice. We can be proud of our sexuality. We can be a group, and we can have one voice, and we can have a safe space. So yes, the invite is open to everyone.
Thank you so much for that invite, Violin. Maybe just one last question for me, just to wrap up this conversation. What would you say to young persons with disabilities who are just beginning to explore their identities? Maybe you can't speak on behalf of all persons with disabilities, but maybe from a deaf perspective, if you may, or from a disability perspective in general, what would be your message to a young Violin growing up there? What would you have done differently, or what would you want to see happening to young, disabled, and gay or queer or LGBTQI persons?
Okay. I'll tell my young self, don't be afraid to open up. Come out of the closet, because if you hide, it only leads to emotional trauma, depression. I opened up, I came out of the closet, and today I'm happy, I'm emancipated.
Well, I like the use of the term emancipated. That's such a strong term. Thank you so much, Violin. There you have it, colleagues. The message is clear. Come out of the closet, find yourself, appreciate who you are, accept yourself for who you are, being gay, being disabled, and find your people and find your spaces. Thank you so much, Violin, for this opportunity to discuss this very.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you so much, and thank you to you, Petri, for providing the interpretation services. Thank you so much. Really looking forward to the second episode of People of Communities. We've come to the end of the first episode. Thank you.
Thank you.